Guys, meet Molly. She is an autism parent consultant. So, Molly, why don't you tell us something about yourself, something about what you do, and that way the audience would be able to get to know you a little better.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so I studied special education in college, and that's kind of where my journey with autism began. I studied it in college. I worked at an after school autism program, and I was part of a mentor program where the college that I went to had a program where students with autism would go to that college, and I was one of the mentors that kind of mentored them through the process of just being a college student, living away from mom and dad. And then once I graduated, I became an autism teacher, and I was a teacher in the classroom for 6 years. And after helping so many parents and so many students of mine, I realized that there are so many other parents out there to reach that have kids on the spectrum. And I started the Autism Community Consulting. And now I consult parents online. We meet face to face, online, weekly with parents that are just really seeking guidance and help with the everyday struggles that come up with having a child on the spectrum. And as you know, it's the difficulties and the barriers. It's kind of like a revolving. It's a continuing process of a parent needing help and guidance and answers to the issues that they're facing at home. So that's what I do. Thank you for having me on here. I'm so excited to talk to your audience and meet some new people.
Indeed. So you're at the right place. So that's what we do. We try to connect with people like you. We try to connect with parents of special need kids. We try to connect with special educators like you. And what we try to do is we try to be a bridge between the two. Right. So welcome on board. It's our pleasure to have you here talking to us. Hopefully we would be able to uncover some valuable ideas, some valuable things for all the audience that we have that's watching us at this point in time, or whosoever would watch this video even later on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Molly, what made you get into special education at the very first place? Because of course, it's not a very glamorous field to really get into. So how did you think of getting into special education and not something like architecture or something very fancy?
Well, funny story, it was not my plan to study special education at all. It is not what I went to college for in the beginning. I went to school to be a nurse, and I hated it. And I had a friend in college who she was studying special education, and she worked at this autism program and said, I think you should change your major. I think your heart is with kids and helping kids. Come check out this autism program that I work at. And I went, and she got me a job there, and I fell in love and switched my major to special ed almost immediately. And the rest is history. I just loved it, and it's something that I enjoyed going back to. I like being a problem solver, and there are a lot of problems to solve when working with kids with disabilities. There are a lot of obstacles to help them overcome. And it's a little bit of like being a detective sometimes, figuring out the reason why behind these behaviors, and then figuring out an action plan to decrease those behaviors. So it's always been a joy for me. I've always enjoyed it.
Indeed. I could not agree more on that. So for how many years have you been helping kids on spectrum?
So I have been a classroom teacher for 6 years, and the last 6 years, and then I worked for 2 years in an autism program, so 8 years total.
Oh, that's great. That's great to hear. So
yeah, and the cool thing is when you work with a child on the spectrum, like Temple Grandin says, when you meet one kid with autism, you meet one kid with autism. There are not two that are alike, and you don't know what you're getting into with each kid. You know, it's a surprise and a journey with each kid. So that's kind of been a cool part of working with so many kids on the spectrum.
What motivates you the most?
I would say I've always been a helper, and I've always seeked to help others and help them solve problems. So so that's kind of the motivator for me, is seeing the struggles that families are facing. And they, like I said, they see a lot of there are a lot of barriers one after another, and it can be really depressing, and it can be hard for parents to keep going and keep trying to work on these behaviors because they see so many obstacles, and it's been so hard. And I like to help them figure out how to solve these problems and build their list of obstacles they've overcome, and really show them that they can do it. Hundreds and thousands of people have done it before, and really just helping them overcome those obstacles and making life easier at home. I just want to make their life easier at home, and it motivates me when I can do that. And when I get to connect with parents from all over the world. I mean, in a class, I loved being in the classroom, don't get me wrong, but now I get to help so many more families that I would have never been able to connect with if it wasn't for the internet. And now, I mean, people in different countries, Canada and Spain, and it's awesome. And now you in India, I would have never met you in the classroom.
Indeed, I could not, again, I could not agree more on that. Had internet not been there, had we not been connecting over internet, probably we would never really have met at the very first place. So, agree.
Yeah, absolutely. And the internet, it can be a great thing or it can be a horrible thing. So I like to add to the great positive side of it and just meet people and connect, and I love it.
So Molly, can you tell us some motivating stories? So, since you have been a problem solver, you have helped so many people. So I'm sure you would have tons of stories, right? So why don't you share a few with us? It'll make our day.
Yeah, so I've always worked in more of the low income side of schools so these kids that I worked with, the students, they had a lot of problems, a lot of difficulties with their disability, but then they also had a lot of struggles at home, and their home life was often disrupted. And I had one student, one little girl in particular. I was new to the school, I was new to her, and stability was nothing that she was used to. And so we all know kids with autism, they need that stability and they need that routine. That's when they thrive, is when they have that stability, and her home was not stable. So I had to work 10 times harder to create that stable environment in the classroom and really work on trust with her, because she was used to people coming and going from her life. So she was very physically and verbally aggressive. Anytime there was any type of academic demand that I would present to her, that's when we would see these aggressive behaviors. And so I had to take away all academic demands. And, people would come in my classroom and say, okay, but this is school. And what people have to realize is, first, I have to build a relationship and trust with that student. So if I need to take 2 months to do that and to make her trust me, that's what I'm going to do. And I worked day in and day out working with that student and with her mom. And we went from her hitting me, hitting my assistants in the classroom 50 plus times a day to almost non-existent. And it all really just had to do with this. She was craving structure, and she was craving that stability, and she didn't have it, and she wasn't used to it. She didn't know how to react, and she didn't know how to respond when that stability was there in the classroom when I was trying to put it in place. So it was a tough journey, and I've had my fair share of bruises. I've been sent to the ER, possible broken nose, concussion, and I've seen it all. But if you stick with it, was a long journey. But what I love to tell parents is, it's a long journey, but it's so worth it in the end. You have to show up every single day, even when you're not seeing those results. You have to trust the process so much, even when you feel like you're not even close to the outcome, because after months and months and months of creating the environment that she needed, I mean, it probably took like 4 months to really see any progress, but I just stuck with it every single day. And that's just what I like to communicate with parents, because it's easy to throw in the towel and say, this isn't working, I'm done, and I'm just going to let her do what she wants, and I'm going to keep my distance. It's easy to do that, but we want them to grow and be as independent as possible. And I want her to thrive in the next classroom that she's in when she goes to middle school. So I was willing to put in the work and do it.
Modi, exciting story. So, how long time back did this thing really happen? What is that girl doing now? I mean, I'm just curious to know.
Well, right now she's home with COVID because school's not in session. So the next school year for her, of course, I won't be her teacher. I'm not in the classroom anymore. But it's going to be a struggle for her teacher next year because I think it's going to start right back over. When you lose stability for such a long period of time, you often regress and you go backwards. But as soon as the school year starts, you have to, day one, you be full force with all the interventions that have worked in the past and hit the ground running from day one and really create that stable environment that she needs. It'll be a struggle, but it'll also be worth it in the end because it's much nicer coming into a classroom where nobody's hitting you and throwing chairs at your head.
Indeed, indeed. So, Molly, that's an interesting story that you just told us. I mean, so persistence is, I believe, the key, right? Having a ritual in place, believing in what you do. So essentially, these are the things that really matter, right? At the end of the day. So great story. Would you like to share some more experiences with us? I mean, that was wonderful, and I can actually keep listening to you.
Let's see. There was a time, so in my classroom, we always worked on community skills as well. We wanted to teach the students skills that they needed in the classroom and out in the community because the end goal for all of these kids with autism is as much independence as possible. We want them going out to restaurants one day. We want them having a job out in the community. We want them going to the library and knowing how to find a book. So my favorite experiences were being able to do that. And at any time I went out in the community members were just so kind and just so great to us. And the kids, I mean, we would practice these skills over and over in the classroom, and then you'd be really nervous to take them out because although they are successful in the classroom, trying this skill out in a completely different environment, you just don't know. There's all this different sensory input going on. There are different people around them. It might smell funny. Like, you just don't know what's going to set them off. And 9 times out of 10, it went wonderful. And it was a big part of that was because of the members in the community. I mean, people are, I think, more loving than not. And I mean, anytime we went to a sit-down restaurant, we all got free pie or free cake or free ice cream. And my kids loved it. So they were so much eager to go out the next time and behave because they remembered, oh, that restaurant owner gave me free pie. The librarian might give me something too. But we always just had a great time, and it was fun. It's nice taking the kids out of the classroom too to teach them skills that they need.
Indeed. I mean, who does not like free food, right? I mean,
Yes.
I would love that too.
Yeah. So I do have a funny story. When we went this last school year, when we went to our very first restaurant, the servers and the restaurant owner, they were just so happy we were there, and they wanted to make sure that we had the best possible experience. So, I mean, there were constantly employees around us taking care of us. And when one of my students got his food, he smelled it and yelled, "Oh my gosh, this is disgusting." And, you know, moments like that, you just have to laugh. It's just, they're so brutally honest sometimes, but you just have to laugh. And it was a funny experience. And the owner said, "Wow, I've never had a customer say that before." So that was a first. So it was always
Great,
entertaining.
great story.
Yes.
So, Molly, how does your typical day really looks like? I mean, how
Yeah,
do you
so
start your day? I mean, yeah, please go
every
ahead.
day, yeah, every day is really different. It just depends on kind of what I need to work on that day, whether I'm meeting with clients face to face, or checking in, sending a message saying, "Hey, I know you're working on getting your child to sit down at the table for dinner time, staying seated for dinner time. Are you still continuing to do this?" I like to keep them accountable, so I'm checking in on clients. I'm writing podcasts. I'm connecting with other parents out there. I'm trying to put out a bunch of free information, videos, posts for parents. Just a lot of different stuff. Every day looks different. I've never had one day that looks the same, but I definitely keep busy.
That's the best thing about life. I mean, your life needs to have a lot of excitement, a lot of newness, a lot of freshness. Otherwise, it becomes monotonous, right? Like going to office 9 to 5 every single day, 365 days a year. It gets boring. So
Right?
I
Yeah.
definitely agree to that. I mean, I'm also someone who looks forward to its excitement, newness, new things, new projects, new excitement. If life does not throw that at me, I kind of get bored. So I pretty much
Yeah.
relate to you on that one.
Yeah, and I will say my favorite part is just really connecting with people. I would say the one thing that I dislike is that I don't get to meet face to face with parents because I just love people and I want to be there as much as possible. But it's great that I even get to meet them in the first place because they're from all over the world and people, like I said, I would have never met before when I was in the classroom. So that's my favorite part.
So Molly, what typical challenges do you face?
I would say the biggest challenge is really working on the mindset of parents sometimes because when you
Mhm.
see when you face so much defeat, when you feel like you're failing over and over tackling like a behavior or something that you're trying to work on, it can be very discouraging. And sometimes it's more mindset work than teaching the autism strategies because my job is to not only teach day. Like I said, you have to show up every single day, even when you don't see the progress. And that can be the hardest thing. Even like when you're working on one particular behavior for months and months, and that behavior is controlling your family, it can be very discouraging to continue every single day to tackle it head on. And part of my job is to motivate the parents and remind them of the outcome. Think about if this problem did not exist in your family anymore. Think whatever this big issue, this big obstacle, this big barrier that is holding your family back, imagine if it's not there. You need to think of that end result. Remind yourself that you can have that life. You just have to continue to show up to work on this particular area of difficulty. It's a lot of mindset work too. But that's with anything, you know, it's easy to get discouraged. And when you're working with somebody to address these goals, you have somebody to hold you accountable. And it's like if you have these goals, but you don't tell anybody about it, it's so easy to just stop, throw in the towel. It's easy to fall off the wagon. If nobody knows about it, nobody's there to keep you accountable. So that's part of my job as well.
Correct. So, I mean, as they say, if you want something to happen, tell it to your friends, and they'll keep poking you back. They'll keep poking you. You know what? You stated something. You're not doing it. So,
Yeah.
I agree with that one. Uh,
It's like if I wanted to go to the gym and lose 10 pounds, if I just kept it to myself, I don't have to show up. I can quit after 2 days. Nobody knows about it.
correct.
But if
Correct.
I put it out there on Facebook or I tell my friends, now I feel obligated. Now I feel like I have to show up. So that's a big part of the consulting as well. Just really keeping them accountable because we need accountability. I think of New Year's resolutions and it's like by January 15th or something like that, over 50% of New Year's resolutions are just gone. People have thrown in the towel, you know, because they don't have somebody holding them accountable.
Correct. 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 So, Molly, since you've told us about one thing wherein you stated that the biggest thing or the biggest contributor is to have a routine in place, right? A structure in place. So that's one such thing, one fabulous piece of advice. Are there some more pieces of advices that you would want to share with us? Some more techniques that you would want to share with the audience? Anything that you personally feel has helped you in your
Yeah.
professional career a lot?
So this is a difficult question because every issue requires different strategies. But I will say that I am a huge fan of creating a visual rich environment for your
Mm-hmm.
child, regardless of if they can speak or not. A lot of parents say to me, no, my child can talk. And yes, they can talk, but they still have a deficit in communication. They still have a hard time getting what's here out and processing the information. And when we create that visual rich environment, we are we are creating a stepping stone for them for that communication piece. So I always love a visual rich environment. Social stories. I love social stories. Same concept. It's taking a certain situation that you want to teach your child, a certain concept that you want to teach your child, and really breaking it down with the use of visuals. And kids with autism, they're visual learners, so they learn better by what they see, not what they hear. So if we can incorporate any strategy that has visuals, sign me up. I'm all about it, because we all know they need the visuals. But yeah, those are a few strategies I love. But every situation's so differently, and every kid's so differently. And just because I would use one strategy with one child does not mean that I'm going to use it with another child. It's all about their strengths and their weaknesses and what motivates them and what their triggers are. You have to really dissect the child and know their needs before you can put any strategy into place with them.
So Molly, I'll have we have audience been asking us some questions.
Yeah.
So would you like to take that?
Oh, sure.
So we have one question where Mr. Azhar has asked, can you give tips for parents counseling to accept? I'm not sure if I got that question right, but I probably think he wants to understand some tips for parents regarding the counseling.
Parents that are seeking, like looking for a counselor, like a therapist.
Yep, that's what I feel is what he meant.
So I'm not quite sure where you're located, but what I always recommend to parents is reaching out to your local health department, because they have a crazy amount of resources that are in your local area that you probably don't even know about. So contact your local health department and ask them what parent support groups are out there, what counseling opportunities are available for parents that have children with disabilities. That's my first go-to for that. The internet is a beautiful thing too. There are probably counselors out there specifically for people that have children on the spectrum or people that have children with a disability. So I would look on the internet as well.
And Molly, we have another question wherein the user has been asking. So there's certainly, I mean, you do not, you seem pretty motivated person, someone who is very excited, very, very energetic. But I'm sure there would be times when you would have felt demotivated, where you would have felt like it's not working out, right? It happens. So how do you get out of that situation? What motivates you? How do you pull up your socks and get back to work and win that thing over? So yeah. That's what the audience wants to know.
Yeah, I have two strategies for you when you feel defeated and you don't feel like showing up. One is you need to have a team member. You need to build a team around you of people who understand what you're going through and people who can motivate you and keep you going. That's part of the reason that I started this consulting program. And I also just recently launched a group coaching membership just for this. I wanted parents to be almost like they're in a room with other parents every single week and get group coaching with me. You need a team. You need someone to be around you to support you. And two, this is one you can do right now after you get off this live. Make a list of 10, 15 things that your child has been successful at. 10 or 15 things that they're obstacles that you have overcome with your child. Keep it in your wallet, keep it in your purse, keep it in your bedroom drawer for days when you are sad and frustrated and defeated. Pull out that list to remind yourself of the accomplishments that you and your child have made in the past. And this will be a reminder that you can get over this obstacle too. All those on that list, those were once obstacles and you got over those. And so this is just another one that hopefully soon you can add to that success list. But that's something you can do as soon as right now. Just get out a pen and piece of paper.
Great piece of advice. Certainly this will help a lot of people who have been listening to us right now.
Yeah, and if this is a good day for you, if you are having a great day with your child, write down how it feels today. Write down how wonderful it feels that your child is successful in doing X, Y, and Z appropriately, so that on that rainy day, you can pull that out and remind yourself that there is good. You just have to overcome this battle and get to the success side of your story.
That brings me to my next question. So can you tell us about the things that makes you very happy, like whatever your most happiest moment in life, both personally, professionally? So
Oh, personally, probably getting married. I am married to the most supportive man in the world. I don't know how I got so lucky, but I did. So personally, that was one of the best times. And professionally, oh gosh, I don't know that I have one specific moment in mind. I had so many good moments in the classroom. I mean, it was such a joy. I don't have children myself, but I felt like all of my students were my children. I loved them so much. I knew everything about them. I was constantly texting and FaceTiming. I still text and FaceTime with some parents to see the kids. Um, Gosh, I don't have one specific moment. I can't pick one student over the other. I love them all.
that's great. I mean, that's the spirit that you really need to have. I mean, that's precisely what I was referring to when I stated. I mean, while talking to you, I never felt that you ever would have got demotivated. So
No, I definitely do. I will tell you, if you're okay with this,
yeah,
a
sure.
story of when I was defeated as a teacher.
Okay.
So my very first year of teaching, you learn about it in school, and I taught at the after-school autism program. But then once you're the one in charge in your classroom, it's a different ballgame, and everything relies on you, and everything falls on your shoulders. And having 10 kids with autism all at once, it was very overwhelming. And I did not ask for help. I tried to do everything on my own. I did not seek outside information. I did not seek outside guidance. And it led to 100% burnout. It led to the feeling of constant defeat. And one time I had just said, it was my very first year of teaching, and I said to my principal, I can't do this. I wasn't made for this. And he was like, yes, you are. I'm going to get you through this, but you're not going to do it alone. He said, you're too stubborn to ask for help, so I'm forcing help upon you. And he sent in this autism expert who I worked alongside. She taught me so much knowledge, and I'm forever thankful for somebody forcing me to get outside help, because I had the personality where I had too much pride, even though a lot of stuff was failing within the classroom. I had too much pride to go to somebody and say, I need help. Like, this is not going right. There are more problems going on than I can face. And I struggled with asking for help. And from that moment on, I knew that if I couldn't solve the problem, I am doing myself and that child a disservice if I don't seek outside help. So my first year I struggled. So every parent feeling defeated, I encourage you to reach out for help, because there's so many people placed in your life to help you. You have to take advantage of it. And we have to, a lot of times, I think parents tell themselves that it's almost shameful to ask for help with parenting your child, but it's not. And I tell parents that there's that term, it takes a village to raise a child. And that village that saying is a real life term that way, way, way back in the day, it literally took a village to raise a child. And every person in the village touched that child in some way to help them grow and to help them learn and transition into different stages of life. And we need to learn to rely on others, and it's okay to ask for help.
Indeed, indeed. So, I mean, it's good. I mean, to learn, to experience, to read, but certainly you cannot read, learn, experience everything on your own, right? The world is
Correct.
full of experiences. The world is full of learning. The world is full of knowledge. So it's always good to ask for external help, because that always can come in handy. And it
100%.
actually takes a lot of courage to really seek help, because when you seek help, you're accepting the fact that, okay, someone could probably know more than you, better than you, or probably could have more experience than you. So it takes a lot of courage to really do that. But once you have tried that thing once, what really happens is you really see that people are more than happy to help you. So I was reading a book about Steve Jobs the other day. So he asked for help and he got help. And Steve actually mentions the fact that there are people willing to help. It's just that we are rigid enough not to go and ask for one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
certainly true.
absolutely. And if you would interview anybody as successful as Steve Jobs, they would all tell you that one, they didn't do it alone. They had people helping them along the way, and two, it wasn't an overnight success. They had more failures than success. And you know, it's easy to look at the defeat, and it's easy to look at the failures and make a long list of the failures, and we often don't make a long list of what we're successful at. We succeed in something and then we're off to the next. We just move on, and we need to take time to celebrate it and add it to our list. Pull out that list and add that baby to the list so that you remind yourself on that rainy day.
Now, I wish I could have interviewed a person like Steve. That would have been a dream come true for me.
Yeah, same. if he helps you, tell him about me. I want him to help you too.
Certainly. And secondly, I was reading the other day wherein someone stated, you have been an overnight success to someone very big. And the person stated, 20 years is a long night. So
Yes,
what people really what people really see is that success. What people really see is, okay, so you have been able to accomplish this. What they don't really see is the sweat that gets into reaching up to that particular point. So yeah, truly said, I 100% agree to that thought process.
Yeah. And well, one of the things that I have a love-hate relationship with social media. And one of the things that I think is defeating for parents is they see the success side of a lot of other parents' stories. And so I think of an obstacle that you face like a hill. And so when you're going up the hill, I mean, you're putting in your blood, sweat, and tears. You're falling down that hill and trying to get right back up. And it's seems a lot's going against you. And what parents see on the internet is the other side of success. They see the downhill side. They don't see everything it took to get that parent there. And that's what I try to remind parents is they put a lot of work into getting there. You just don't see it. You know, nobody brags about the defeat and the hard work. They're going to brag about the end results. So
I don't even agree to that thought process 100%, because what really happens is people do not show anything which is even slightly negative, right? What they try to do is they try to extrapolate everything, right? So say if I were to go to Kentucky, right, I would start putting pictures as if whatever, I mean, I've accomplished something which is unimaginable, right? So the real life versus social media life are two different lives is what I feel. And parents really need to understand that. If you're looking at a social media feed and you see, oh, their kid is doing fabulous, it's amazing, it's lovely and all of that, that probably is not true. What probably is true is, say, 1/4 of that, right? I mean, I'm sure the kid is doing great. I'm not saying the kid is not, but the thing is, he's just doing 1/4 of it, right? The rest is just Photoshop, probably, or filters for that matter.
Absolutely.
Agree.
Nobody wants to put the bad out there in their life. And social media is this glorified version of your life that,
Correct.
you know, and it's great when parents are proud of something that their child has accomplished. That's wonderful and they should celebrate it. But what I tell my clients is don't let that get you down, because it wasn't always like that. And it wasn't always easy. And it might have taken weeks, months, who knows how long to get there.
Indeed. Great insight. Thank you for touching upon that. So guys, whosoever is watching us right now, what we really have to understand is today, because of social media, what has really happened is now we have two lives. One is the life that we live and the one that we post on social media handles, right? It may or may not necessarily be true. It may be miles apart, poles apart. So what you really have to do is you have to understand that fact and you have to keep living your life. You do not really have to get worried or feel as if nothing good is happening in your life because you just saw a social media feed of someone and you feel, oh, they're doing wonderful. that probably may not be the case, right? Probably they're as vulnerable as you are. Probably they're more vulnerable than that. So I mean, you have to just focus on your life. You just live your life, and that's what it is. Social media is just a way of expression, and people take it just way too seriously. I do not think it needs to be taken that seriously.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Like I said, it's a blessing and a curse. It can do wonders and it can do harm.
Indeed. So I've seen people wasting so much of their time and energy to just click one selfie, that one picture they can put on Facebook or Insta or somewhere or the other. And I feel, I mean, what's the point? I mean, from my perspective, it does not make sense, but for people, it
Yeah.
does. So if this is a different perspective, so I should not be commenting on that. But yeah, I mean, one should not look at social media feeds alone to understand whether they are better or worse or stuff like that. It's your
Right.
life, right? You have to.
Yeah,
You
and
have
I think it's a lot of fear of judgment, from others. And I
correct.
will say that in the beginning of starting the autism community and starting my social media pages, I had fear of judgment, and it actually held me back. I would have started sooner if I would have gotten over that mindset sooner and reminded myself that I'm helping people. And if they don't want to follow me, they don't have to follow me. They can easily just slide on past my page, and that's okay. And I was fearful of starting this, and I didn't know how parents would respond to me. And honestly, I have met so many wonderful parents who encourage me to continue every single day, because there are parents who tell me how much help I've been, and that is what encourages me to continue. There's so many more nice people and kind people out there than hateful. So that's always very encouraging.
Great. Thanks, Molly. Honestly, you have been able to share a lot of valuable insights. So, I mean, route schedule was one of them. Social media thing has been another valuable input. So great that you have shed light on all these things. Molly,
Well,
can you? Sorry, please go ahead.
I was going to say, I appreciate you taking the time to invite me on. This has been a pleasure, and I've enjoyed it.
Same here. It was a pleasure to have you with us. Molly, before we end this thing, can you just touch upon some of the grants which are available for parents with special needs, how they can take advantage of that, and then you can probably tell us about your website and how can people connect with you. So yeah, if someone is interested, they could probably visit your website. They could probably connect with you.
Are you asking about grants, like money they apply for?
That's correct. That's the first
Okay.
question that I asked for.
So this is not something that I have a ton of information on, but like I
Mhm.
said earlier, I would reach out to your local health department, because there are more than likely resources available close to you that you don't know about. Another website that I don't know the exact website, but if you just search Indiana University Autism Center, and
Mhm.
they have a list of grants that parents can apply for. I will say that some are based on your income. Most grants out there are, but you would be surprised. There are also ones that are for everybody. So go check those out. Also, if you are part of any like autism support groups on Facebook, reach out to those moms and dads. There are parents out there who have been able to benefit from these grants in the past. So just ask around, search the internet. The internet can be beautiful and have a ton of information. So, but my only specific place that I know is Indiana University Autism Center.
Great. And can you also tell the audience about your website, how they can get connected
Yeah.
to you? So,
Yeah, so my website is theautismcommunity.co, and you can also follow me here on social media on Instagram. It's at the Autism Community. And right now I'm so excited with my business because I've launched a membership program for parents. It's group coaching. Weekly, I meet with parents. We jump on a call together and we tackle the obstacles together that they are going through. And once a month, I am bringing in a guest expert to teach these parents about whatever specific skill that whatever area that they work in. So I'm bringing in behavior experts and speech experts and autism dietitians to talk to the parents in my membership. So I'm very excited about that.
Great. So I'm sure our audience will have find this very exciting. I mean, I personally found this particular interaction very exciting. I've been able to learn a few things out of this interaction. So thank you for joining us. We'll connect with you offline, and then I'll of course request you to share some informative content with us so that we can share that with our audience. And as I tell everyone, this is just the beginning, and hope to work with each other, hope to help each other in this long journey to continue.
Absolutely. We were not meant to do life alone. We're all here to help each other, and I'm excited to help any autism parent that comes this way. And I'm so grateful that you invited me on and I was able to connect with you. So thank you again.
Thanks, Molly. It was indeed our pleasure to have you with us, to speak with us, and we'll keep connecting back again.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a good day.
Thank you, Molly. Have a great day. Bye-bye.